Well, welcome guys, we're super stoked. Super stoked to have you guys. This is our 2021 and 2022 update. We didn't get to give a presentation last year at Southwest PARC or anything like that, so we're going to give you everything that we've done in 2021 and 2022 as the volunteer nonprofit of the Colorado chapter of PARC. Now this is the closest thing we had to a steering committee photo up until this date. This was us at the 2021 survey, and yeah, it was pretty fun. All right, so this is our current steering committee, as you saw earlier. Tim is the only one that is not present here. Tim was one of the founders of the organization. He now lives in Florida, but kind of oversees, is kind of a guy with a lot of experience and is a member that we very much trust, and so we like to keep him on the board. But yeah, this is a great group. We'd love to have anybody else that joins the steering committee that is interested. We're always open to hearing from you, and we would love more support. So this is our current committee updates. This is where we stand at the moment. I am the senior co-chair of PARC. We have Stephanie Townsend, who is your junior co-chair at the moment. We have your treasurer, Mr. Remy Patton, and then Sean McMullen, as you heard earlier, is the Southwest PARC liaison. And this is something that's probably been, I think we instituted this in 2022, at the beginning of 2022. And I think the only other change was that I moved up into senior chair and Tim stepped down off of the committee leadership roles, and then Remy jumped into treasurer, and Mr. Ryan Borgman stepped off the committee. We're super thankful for him, and Sean moved into his position. The first thing we did is, these are just general updates. We rejoined the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Habitat and Wildlife Roundtable, which is a really cool opportunity where we get to meet with the Commissioner of Colorado Parks and Wildlife. We also get to meet with people like the Species Conservation Coordinator and a bunch of other nonprofits like the Denver Field Ornithologists, Denver Audubon Society, there's some pollinator groups in there. It's a really great opportunity to pitch to Colorado Parks and Wildlife opportunities in where we can improve in herp conservation and start to consider that, and especially things like state wildlife action plans that'll be coming up in the next couple of years. I'm going to pass this off to Remy for this next part.
Howdy. So about, I want to say a year and a half ago, we wanted to do some revamping on our website. Those of you who are familiar with the website and have been for a good while now might remember that it wasn't always the prettiest. And so one of the main things that we started doing was updating our species accounts. So Colorado hasn't seen a new field guide or some sort of collection of herpetological information since 2011, is that correct?
Really since Geoff Hamerson did the Hamerson Field Guide in 1999. It's the last time we had a really good field guide or information.
Yeah, and so we'd like to provide a free online resource to folks who want to know more about our native herps, and so we've got a bunch of species accounts on the website. It is currently ongoing and being updated, but at this point, every single species has some sort of decent identifiable photo and a range map, which Graham mentioned earlier. He has been working pretty hard on GIS to have the most up-to-date range maps we have. And for two species, eastern hognose and smooth softshell turtles, they're the only range maps for them in Colorado that exist. Those are all on our website currently, and you're free to use them. We also want to have some more natural history notes and information on there. Some of our pages have that, most of them don't. We've been a little slow in the past couple months working on this meeting, but that's something that we're going to get back into, and hopefully within a reasonable amount of time, we'll have a pretty reliable resource for everyone to use at discretion. We've also added a few trip reports. So our 2021 trip report, we wrote up, I think, one for the Southeast Bash, and we also did one for Bear Creek Park, I'm pretty sure. Those are up there if you want to know what those looked like in a little bit more detail than what we're about to present up here in a few minutes. You're free to look at those, and we will be updating our website with the 2022 reports soon. And then, updated events, homepage, about page. Anthony has been a huge help in maintaining that, making sure that things stay updated as they progress and get developed. And yeah, so a lot of website maintenance, something that is ongoing, but if you guys have the opportunity, please use it.
One thing I will say is about those range maps, this is a conglomeration of data that we've pulled from HerpMapper, we've pulled from iNaturalist, we've pulled from Dr. Lauren Levo's notes, we've pulled from Arctos data, we've pulled from a whole bunch of places to get the most up-to-date stuff, because not everything has been published, so that's a big part of why this open source data is super important, and we've been able to create these. And you can see up here the blue is something that, they've been documented in Hammerson. You'll see green on some of the maps. That's all the county records that have been established since Geoff Hammerson's 1999 field guide. And then yellow ones are where that people can start herping to improve Colorado's knowledge of herpetofauna by adding county records. So I think that's a really cool part about this. And then red, obviously, is where they're introduced to our invasive species. Yep.
We are also adding a donation button to our website. It's not on there yet, but PARC has been very nice and helpful in letting us figure out how to do that. So that will be up there soon as well.
Yeah, just general. I can get it. Okay. So this is just our general herpetofauna surveys for 2021. I'll go in a little bit more in depth, but these are all the partners that we work with. We had our Southeast Colorado Monitoring Survey again in 2021. That was CBW, CDOT, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that we worked with. We did the Bear Creek Lake Park in Lakewood, and that was obviously City of Lakewood property. We did the HD Mountain Surveys in the San Juans, which is actually a really weird site and also kind of fun, but we worked with the San Juan Citizens Alliance, a nonprofit, and we also worked with the U.S. Forest Service in the San Juans. And last we did Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the Woodhouse property, that is a state wildlife area that's not accessible to the public.
Yeah, so the first survey that we're going to go over is the Spring Bear Creek Lake Park. Really fun name. Survey that we did in 2021. It was a large organized survey done with the City of Lakewood, where we got a bunch of folks from the Front Range area and come together, and we split up into different groups with some of our newer and more familiar members. It was a fantastic survey. It's actually a really nice property that we got access to. There's a lot of diversity in this for Front Range survey spot. Yeah, so we were able to document about 14 herb species and 151 observations. Some of our main targets were northern leopard frogs, red-sided garter snakes, northern water snakes. We sadly were not able to find all of those, although we did get some potential northern leopard frog calls. So that is something that is ongoing and something we worked into in 2022 as well. This was one of our biggest Front Range surveys that we've ever had, with over 70 volunteers. And we were also able to have smaller or private surveys throughout the 2021 season to be able to target specific parts of the park for some of our more focused targets.
As you can see, we got 151 observations. It's actually a lot for along the Front Range of 14 different species. Essentially every species in that park was documented on that trip. We're pretty confident that most everything else does not occur there. And this, as you can see, it's a great opportunity for everybody's involvement. We have people all the way from ages 3 to, I think we had someone up in the ages of 70 on that trip. So it's a great opportunity for all skill levels, and this is a really fun project. We next jumped into the Southeast Colorado 2021 survey. This is an ongoing multi-year project, and approximately 50 volunteers attended that year. And what was really cool is that we were able to add small group subcommittee work, so that expanded the amount of data that we could collect for the state of Colorado, and we were able to go out as subcommittees on the steering committee and collect data just as we normally herped or as we go out with other groups on the side. We were able to herp inventory Baca, Bent, Los Animas, Otero, and Prowers counties, so pretty much most of the southeastern part of the state. But on our large group trip that you can see kind of displayed up here with a vast majority of people from, like I said, we had people all the way from ages of 3 to, Craig, how old are you? Yeah, 77, right? Yep, there we go. There was our oldest on that trip. So, it was a great opportunity. It was a super fun trip with a lot of education opportunities. 299 observations just on that 3-day trip alone with 37 species. And then we did, throughout the whole year, 617 observations with 44 species, and a lot of that is thanks to Joey Kellner. So we have to shout him out for that. We much appreciate your work and your diligence in doing that while you're out birding. This is the HD mountain range. This was kind of a weird, unique opportunity we got in southwest Colorado. It's about 7.5 hours from where we are right now. So that was kind of a pain to get to. So there was only about 5 of us that did it. The brave souls that, trekked out there with me, I appreciate you. We got 4 species. It's a not super herb diverse area, but we were able to get 57 observations. There's a lot of plateau striped whiptails there, a lot of them. So it was a great time, and we were able to help both of these organizations. They had no herb data on this property, and we're still looking into it, but it's possible we detected a new insect for the state of Colorado. one that has never been documented here. So we're gonna look into that a little further and see if that's actually something that was happening.
Alright, so for the first time, we were invited out to the CPW Woodhouse property by the property tech there. They wanted to do just a general survey, and we're also curious if they did have woodhouses, toads, and northern leopard frogs on the property. We observed 172. We took 172 observations and recorded 8 species. We did find woodhouses, toads. We also found western milk snake, northern leopard frogs, barred tiger salamanders, and even boreal chorus tadpoles, frog tadpoles. But we also found bullfrogs. We found a lot of bullfrogs. So we have been invited back to do some bullfrog eradication and hopefully take some more observations this fall.
And if you want to see the best pictures of Ryan Boardman ever and Remy, these are them right here. It's Ryan in the water, and then Remy with whatever the heck he's got on his head. Fun game. All right, now we're on to 2022. This was another great year. This is a little more complex year because of some weather stuff. But we once again continued the Southeast Colorado monitoring work. We also went back to Bear Creek for a short period of time to do some more follow-up work there with specifically looking for northern leopard frogs. And then we also worked with the Audubon Nature Center at Chatfield State Park. So we got to work with Denver Water, who has properties adjacent. We got to work with Colorado Parks and Wildlife at Chatfield State Park. And then we got to work with the Greater Audubon Society of Denver and do some education with them as well as access their property to do herp inventory. This is our group survey photo from the 2022 Southeast Oak Harrow trip. I'll let Remy talk about Audubon.
Yeah, so most of you are familiar with the Audubon Society, and some of you have probably visited the Audubon Nature Center before. It is another super herb diverse part of the Front Range that we are very privileged to have been able to survey. And we also got to have access to some Denver Water properties adjacent, which is pretty cool. For those of you that remember, it just kind of kicked off immediately. As soon as we got there, there was a little prairie rattlesnake right next to where we took that group photo, actually. It's the guy up on the left. And yeah, super fun survey. We got to split into a lot of groups. It's a microhabitat-wise, insanely diverse property. We very much had a great time, and I think once the survey was done, we actually found a western plains hognose that was found by one of our members who showed up late, and that's that picture in the center there. Thing is massive. But yeah, 14 species were observed with 123 observations, another really good count for the Front Range. And something that we are super prideful in is the fact that we were able to just cover so much of this property in just one afternoon. We were able to split up and take about every single square inch that we could, and that's where we were able to get some really good numbers. And once again, we had 60 attendees, the capacity limit that we were given, which was fantastic. And again, we had little kids that were finding some of their first herbs, and Joey there, who's trying to eat what I think is a yellow-billed racer, I'm not sure. But yeah, lots of familiar faces and new faces, and it was another fantastic opportunity for PARC to kind of have a place in the Front Range survey-wise.
We also got to do some education there for some of their summer programs, which is a really neat opportunity that Sean and I got to go take part in. And they were super appreciative. They got to show us some of the herbs they'd seen, and we got to show them some of the herbs that we'd found. And so it was a really great opportunity to show them leopard frogs. They showed us little painted turtles. It was a really great opportunity, and I truly love that property, and I'm really thankful for the Audubon Society for helping partner us with that. Do you have a question?
Yeah, could you say a little bit about the nature of the data collection you do on these kind of events?
Yeah, so essentially what we do for data collection on an event like this is everyone uses iNaturalist on their phone, and that's where you see a lot of the iNaturalist things that we were referencing earlier during the CNHP talk for my records. So everyone downloads iNaturalist on their phone, or at least they hang out with a group leader that has iNaturalist on their phone. Typically steering committee members come and we split into groups that allow the participants to kind of herp or go out in the field with someone that may be more seasoned as far as either finding herps, identifying herps, or at least ethical herping practices. And this provides us with opportunities to be able to show people what to do in the field, how to herp the correct way, and also how to record meaningful data and to hopefully help find things that some of us might have walked past. I mean, this hognose is something that even the seasoned vets per se walked past, and all of a sudden, this was her first co-park trip, and she turns up a Jefferson County hognose, which I can't even tell you the last time that was documented. And so that is a really awesome find, and all that data is collected under a scientific collection permit from Colorado Parks and Wildlife that we obtain each year for each survey. And then what we do is we submit it at the end of the year, and that's where Hayden was talking about. He helps with a lot of the data entry that I do into their format, and then we send it on to them so that they can use it for things like Brad was talking about, figuring out sites for more strategic scientific surveying efforts and things like that. Well, this was a special trip. Anyone that was there remembers this was something else. This trip started with a lot of rain, dropped about 1.5 inches of rain in southeast Colorado in about 4 hours. And so if you see up in that top photo right there, you can see a Subaru stuck on David Canyon Road for anyone that's been down there. You can see a caravan of cars coming down the road as they were trapped in there for about an hour. And then you can see everybody else enjoying a great survey. We even got the firefighters down there involved. The wildland firefighters came and showed up and started herping with us. That was pretty fun. Ryan Boardman was courteous enough to donate breakfast at the survey, which was super fun. And we had a great group of over 60 volunteers. We got to expand our survey efforts even further in the smaller group efforts from May to October instead of what we'd previously done of June to October. So we were able to capture an even greater range of data. We did add Pueblo County, the eastern half of Pueblo County, to our surveying list so we can encompass the entirety of southeast Colorado, and we were able to get some data that was really helpful from Max and Caden in that area of the state that hadn't been really surveyed before. And then we also had, during our full group survey, we had a record of we have a record of number of observations, 489 observations in a matter of 2 days. And then we had 33 species, mainly amphibians on that trip, a lot of amphibian data from that trip. So, I mean, boy, have at it.
So many spadefoots.
Yeah, and then we had 703 total observations of 45 species over the course of the whole survey, and that's the most we've ever had. And I think one of the big things that put us over the top was a threat snake, and that's one of the things we rarely had in the past. So it's been super awesome to be able to include a lot of these rare species in this survey work. And then lastly, we went back to Bear Creek. We did a lot of education there this year instead of mainly surveying, although we did do some surveying. One was a mainly small group thing where we did 35 observations, 9 herp species. We detected a rattlesnake, which is an uncommon find for that park, surprisingly.
First one recorded in the park, I think.
And then we ended up saying that we would commit to their Let's Go Camping education event, which is a really cool opportunity. We got to reach over 100 different people of 47 families, mostly low income and families from the urban city that had not been able to get out into nature very much. And so me and Hayden, Remy, and Sean all volunteered the day to go and show them all these little things we had. We had snakes that looked like milk snakes, because you can't have those in Colorado, and then we had rattlesnake skins, and we just threw up a tent on a 90-degree day and talked about some reptiles, and it was a pretty great opportunity. We also did a grant this past 2 years, and I'm going to let Steph talk about that.
Yeah, so we partnered with Dr. Weeks in 2021. We awarded a grant to Dr. Danita Weeks at Colorado Mesa University to fund a citizen science project called Bullfrogs for Beers. And it involved collecting data on bullfrog populations, the presence of BD, and bullfrog predation. So we want to see what threat they pose to the other species there. And they also work towards bullfrog removal. And they did some interesting necropsies to determine what those bullfrogs were predating on. And the grant helped pay for field supplies, provisions, and other needs. We had some funds left over from 2021, so that got moved over into 2022 as they continue to do their project, and we hope to continue to support her. So she will actually fill you guys in next with her talk.
And now for 2023, we got some big, ambitious plans going on. We're going back to Southeast Colorado. Shocker. No, we're going back, but we got the dates for you. This is the first time I think we've ever had our dates at our actual meeting. So if you want to take a picture now, if you want to save it, July 14th through the 16th, you don't want to miss this one. If you've never been to Southeast Colorado, you basically can we'll put you on whatever you want to try and find. We'll do the best we can to help you. It's a great time. You will get to see just about anything you want, hopefully, theoretically. And we're gonna have a blast, as you can see in that bottom photo. Yeah, it's a great group, you learn a lot. And then in the spring, we'll actually be back here in Denver at the Bluff Lake Nature Center, which will be our spring survey. It's about 15-20 minutes from here. Great area, we were contacted by them, and we're gonna go see what we can turn up and hopefully help them build their species list. We're also gonna do some work in Broomfield County. Broomfield County, for those that don't know, is actually a county that was created not too many years ago. And so they don't actually have very much official herp data at all from Broomfield County, so we want to change that. We want to make sure we bolster their accounts. We want to create museum records for those specimens, even if they're just virtual vouchers through the University of Colorado Boulder. But that will be something that comes in the fall and will be a great opportunity as well for those that cannot attend Southeast Colorado to join us on the Front Range for some survey work. We also are going to partner with the Denver Zoo and the Boreal Toad Project. They reached out to us and they want to have us potentially lead one of their surveys. We had Graham and Remy go on one of their surveys last year, and they really apparently left a good enough impression to ask us back. But yeah, so it'll be a good time. We're gonna see what we can do with them, see what we can do to help identify sites for potential reintroduction, and we'd love to get you guys involved. We'd love to get you plugged in with that and maybe get out in the field with us to go see some awesome toads. We're open to more opportunities. If you guys have properties you want surveyed, we would be more than happy to help in any way, shape, or form. Just reach out to us, even if it's not in a large group capacity. We have plenty of resources. Plenty of us have more free time than we think we do, and we like to look for snakes, and we like to look for amphibians. So we'll be happy to help in any way, shape, or form. We like to make our trips meaningful if we can, and any surveys we can do, Front Range, West Slope, Southeast Colorado, we'll be happy to help with. So feel free to reach out. Education, as far as that goes, we have more requests, and we're open to more requests for education exhibits, education opportunities, joining different parks, nature groups, etc., for chances to do education outreach, because that's something we really are passionate about, enjoy doing. We have a really committed team, as you can see in that back corner. They really love what they do and love sharing these animals. You know, we're also going to work on that website. We're getting there. We promise it's not going to be highlight or yellow anymore for those that saw it back in the old days. It's going to be much better. We want to make it the best we can, closest to a field guide we can, to make it accessible to as many people as possible, and you know, just keep Colorado herps relevant, keep Colorado herps on the trending upwards as far as conservation is in mind. And we look forward to any and all help you guys can provide, any and all partnerships we can have with you guys, and we look forward to working with you and having you participate. So we'll take questions now if there are any, but thank you.